Murdock's Music Minute with I've finally listened to albums I've known of for a long time that's for one or the other reason I've never come around to really listen to. And in this video, I can say that I've finally listened to Pink Flag by Wire. This video is connected to a video I did with Stefan Riedelsteiner Experience. You can check it out on his channel, where we talk about sort of blind spots in our own music collections or musical knowledge. Each of us talked about 3 bands or acts that we are interested in or that we think we should know based also on our taste, but we never really listened to. And one of those on my side was the band Wire. I listened to a bit of post-punk. I quite like some art rock or artsy punk music. And of course, Wire is a name you come across frequently when you are interested in this kind of music or in rock music in general. Yeah, Stefan, after this video and our little talk there, kindly lent me the album, his CD of Wire's Pink Flag. It's an original CD. He just got rid of the normal jewel case, I guess. So, what are my thoughts? Well, first of all, getting into this album before I had heard a single track, I was expecting some rather minimalist, very cold, very, designed, experimental art punk material, maybe even getting closer to kind of new wave sound. So I was quite surprised that actually a lot of the tracks on this album, at least in my opinion, are still pretty much straight punk rock, only super short. I was aware of Wire being famous for their extremely short tracks. A couple of them clock in under a minute, and maybe a bit less tuneful, less rock and roll than their more commercial peers, such as the Sex Pistols or the Clash. Quite a lot of tracks are very much in the punk rock idiom: drums, bass, guitar, shouty vocals a little bit, and lots of aggressive power chords. Field Day for the Sundays, for example, Ex-Lion Tamer, Brazil, Surgeon's Girl, etc. A lot of these songs are actually straight up punk rock with maybe a bit of a more bleak performance or delivery. The opening track, Reuters, on the other hand, clearly shows that this is not your ordinary fun punk rock band. There's something cold about it, something very political. For no specific reason, I also was expecting to hear more keyboards or maybe kind of ambient sounds, which is not the case at all on this album. It's a guitar band. I guess the artsy, the experimental approach is demonstrated by means of the brevity of a lot of the tracks. Brazil is only 41 seconds long, Straight Line 44 seconds. Some of the tracks are already over before you've actually noticed that they started. And whenever the band gets a bit slower, that's where you hear that Wire were moving away from punk, and I guess that's also why this is referred to as a post-punk album. For example, Lowdown, or the noisy and chaotic title track Pink Flag, which, by the way, had my cat prick her ears up in disbelief or terror She was sleeping on the bed, and when the track started with that, I guess, floor tom that slowly fades in, she really got a bit nervous. I have to say, though, these are often also the moments on the album I enjoy less. In general, there's something very abrasive and sketchy about this album. I mean, we're talking about 21 tracks that, however, rattle by in, I think, just a little bit over 30 minutes, which of course keeps even the maybe less inspired songs interesting. On the other hand, some of the tracks are over so quickly that they somehow blur into each other over time, and it's really hard to distinguish one song from the other at times. But this truly is punk with an art school attitude. Yeah, I'll give you some of my favorites, some highlights for me from this album. Yeah, the opening track, Reuters, named after the famous international press agency, maybe is something to get used to a little bit, but it's also one of the darker tracks. It's a very snappy, political, nihilistic song, but I think this is a very good one. Three Girl Rumba, which is a bit more accessible and all about rhythm, is a very cool one. Ex Lion Tamer is high speed punk rock slash power pop. Other highlights for me are from the second half of the album, which strangely enough sounds a bit more pop to me, or at least there are traces of kind of pop songwriting there. For example, the track Fragile, which is really a more catchy one, and Mannequin, which again has rather biting lyrics, but also is one from the more memorable, more easy on the ear ones from the album. And finally, the closing track, 12XU, which is just pure fun punk, actually. So there is a bit of humor also in Wire's music and sometimes also in the lyrics. Yeah, really cool artwork. Of course, um, an iconic cover. I think it's a photo. Hope I'm not mistaken. Is it a painting? It looks very much like a modern art gallery. Band members on the back. And we get individual details about them. For example, the hair color of vocalist Colin, black hair, or the then weight of bass player Lewis. So, yeah, some of this, even though it is sometimes dark and chaotic and very earnest sounding record, some of this is not to be taken too seriously. So, yeah, what's my final opinion or impression of this album? Um, to be honest, it took me several listens, several spins to really fully get into this album, and even now, I'm not totally blown away. Maybe I was expecting something a little bit different, as mentioned in the beginning, and still, there is a lot of intriguing material on this album, especially the tracks I've mentioned. So much that I'm not sure I'm going to really buy this myself, but I'm still interested enough to maybe listen into the follow up album to this one, Chairs Missing, I believe it is called. So, yeah, I will keep an ear on Wire. I'm not giving up on them. I enjoyed this. I'm not 100% convinced it really is music that I would listen to frequently, but future will tell. So far, That's all I can say after I have finally listened to Pink Flag by Wire. Thank you, Stefan. You'll get back your copy very soon. Thanks for watching. What's your opinion of Wire, or maybe what was your experience with, especially with this album? Were you a fan, an early fan back in the late 70s? Did you discover them later on? And was this an album you fell in love with immediately? Feel free to share your stories in the comments and stay tuned for more Murdock Music Minutes. Bye bye.